I do this at a lot of events, and it sickens my heart to see when we do this Black History stuff, and this kind of crowd show up. I mean, it sickens me. I mean, the church should be packed so full it should be outside. But this man did the same thing similar to what Jesus did. Jesus died on the cross for our sins. He died fighting for our rights. And we disrespect him for not showing up. But as she said, that should be too long. So.
Take your time.
We shall overcome. Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome. Although I join hands with students and others behind jail bars singing it, we shall overcome. Sometimes we had tears in our eyes when we joined together to sing it, but we still decided to sing it, we shall overcome. Before this victory's won, some will have to get thrown in jail some more, but we shall overcome. Don't worry about us. Before the victory's won, some will lose jobs, but we shall overcome. Before this victory's won, some will even have to face physical death. A physical death that the price that some must pay. To free our children from a permanent psychological death. And then nothing shall be more redemptive. We shall overcome. Before this victory won, some will be misunderstood and called bad name and this as rebel rousers and agitators, but we shall overcome. And I'll tell you why. We shall overcome because ours of tomorrow's universe is long, but it bends towards justice. We shall overcome because Carlyle is right. No lie can live forever. We shall overcome because William Cullen Bryant is right. Truth crushed to earth will rise again. We shall overcome because James Russell Lowell is right. Truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne. Yet that scaffold sways the future. Behind them unknown standards God within the shadows, keeping watch above their own. We shall overcome because the Bible is right. You shall reap what you sow. We shall overcome.
Yeah.
And we shall overcome. We will be able to rise from the fatigue of despair and bring new light into the dark chambers of pessimism. And then we will be able to reach this point. I see a lot of y'all that come here tonight with guns and knives, but take your guns and take your knives and go back to Mississippi, go back to New York City, go back to Louisiana. Because if something isn't done and done in a hurry to bring the colored peoples back from their long years of poverty, the whole world is doomed. One day a man came to Jesus. He wanted to raise some questions about some vital matters of life. At point, he wanted to trick Jesus and show him he knew a little bit more than Jesus do and throw him off base. This question could have easily ended up in a philosophical or theological debate. But Jesus immediately pulled that question from midair and placed it on the dangerous curve between Jerusalem and Jericho. He speaks about a certain man who fell among thieves. And if y'all remember, a Levite and a priest passed on the other side and did not stop to help him. And finally, a man of another race came by. He got down from his beast, decided not to be compatible by proxy. He got down and administered the first stage to the man. And Jesus ended up saying, this is the good man, this is the great man. Because he had the capacity to project the eye into the eye and be concerned about his brother. Now, we all use our imagination sometimes, trying to determine why the priest and the Levite didn't stop to help. At times, we said they were busy on their way to a church meeting. They had to get on down to Jerusalem so they wouldn't be late for their meeting. Other times, we speculated there was a religious law. The one whom was engaged in religious ceremonial was not to touch a human body 24 hours before the ceremony. And every now and then, we begin to wonder that maybe they wouldn't gone down to Jerusalem or down to Jericho rather to organize a Jericho Road Improvement Association. Now that's a possibility. Maybe they felt it was better to deal with the problem from the cause or roots rather than to get bogged down with the individual effect. But I'm going to tell you what my imagination tells me. It's possible that those men were afraid. For you see, the Jericho Road is a dangerous road. I can remember when Mrs. Keene and I were first in Jerusalem. We rented a car and drove from Jerusalem down to Jericho. We got on this road. I said to my wife, I can see why Jesus used this as the setting for his parables. It's a twine and the iron road. it's really conducive for ambushing. You start out in Jerusalem, which is about 1,200 miles, or rather 1,200 feet above sea level. And when you get on down into Jericho, and 15 or 20 minutes later, you's about 2,200 feet below sea level. Now that's a dangerous road. But in Jesus' days, it came to be known as the bloody path. You know it's possible that the Levite and the priest looked over that man on the ground, and wondered if the robber was still around. And you know it's possible they thought the man on the ground was merely faking. And he was acting like he had been robbed and hurt in order to seize them over there. Love and there for quick and easy seizure. But the first question the priest asked, and the first question Levite asked, was, if I stop to help this man on the ground, what will happen to me? And then the Good Samaritans came along. He reversed the question. He said, if I do not stop to help this man on the ground, what will happen to him? So that's the question before you tonight. Not if I stop to help the sanitation workers, what will happen to my job? Not if I stop to help the sanitation workers, what will happen to all the hours that I usually spend in my office every day and every week as a pastor? The question is not if I stop to help this man in need, what will happen to me? The question is, if I do not stop to help the sanitation workers, what will happen to them? That's the question before you tonight. You know, several years ago, I was in New York City, autographing the first book that I had written. And while I was sitting there autographing books, a black woman walked up. The only word I heard from her, are you Dr. Martin Luther King? I had my head down right, and I said, yes. And the next minute, I could feel something beating on my chest. And before I knew it, I had been stabbed by this committed woman. They rushed me to Harlem Hospital. It was a dark Saturday afternoon. And that's where the doctors x-rayed me. And that blade had gone through. And the x-ray revealed that the tip end of that blade was just an inch over the main artery. And once that's punctured, you drown in your own blood. Well, that's the end of it. Well, about 4 days later, after the operation, after they had cut him open and took the knife out, they allowed me to read some of the knives, letters, and telegrams I had received. I had received a letter from the president and the vice president, but I've forgotten what that letter said. I had received a vicious letter from the governor of New York, but I've forgotten what that letter said. But there was another letter. I looked at that letter and I'll never forget it. It was from a little girl, a young girl. She said, Symphony of Dr. Martin Luther King. She said, I'm a 9th grade student at the White Plains High School. And she said, why it shouldn't matter for me to mention I'm a little white girl. And she said, I read in the papers of your misfortune and of your suffering. She said, I read that you had been stabbed, and that if you had merely sneezed, you would have died. She said, I'm simply writing to let you know that I'm so happy that you didn't sneeze. And I, too, am happy that I didn't sneeze. For if I had sneezed, I wouldn't have been around here in 1960. When young Negroes all over the South started sitting in lunch counters, and that they were sitting in, I knew they were really standing up for the best in the American dream. If I had sneezed. If I had sneezed, I wouldn't have been around here in 1961. When we decided to take a ride for freedom and end this segregation interstate travel. If I had sneezed. If I had sneezed, I wouldn't have been around here in 1962. When Negroes in Albany, Georgia decided to straighten their backs up. And whenever men and women straighten their backs up, they are going somewhere, because a man cannot ride your back unless it is bent. If I had sneezed. If I had sneezed, I wouldn't have been around later in the year in August to try to tell America about a dream that I had. If I had sneezed. If I had sneezed, I wouldn't have been here in Memphis to see a community rally among those sisters and brothers who are suffering. I'm so happy that I didn't sneeze. And that they was telling me. I left Atlanta this morning and we got started on the plane. That was 6 of us. The pilot said, over the public address system, said, we are sorry for the delay, but we have Dr. Martin Luther King on the plane. And when we got into Memphis, some began to say the threats. I'd rather talk about the threats that were out. And some of the things that were going to happen to me from somehow sick, white brothers. Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead, but it really doesn't matter what happens to me now, because I've been to the mountaintop. So like any man, I would like to live a long life, a longevity has its place, but I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain, and I've looked over, and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want to let you know tonight, we as the peoples will get to the promised land. And so I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man, because mine eyes have seen the glory and the comings of the Lord. Then there's those who ask the question saying, when will you be satisfied? We can never be satisfied as long as y'all young Negroes still being beat in the street by police brutality. We can never be satisfied. We can never be satisfied as long as our bodies are hit over the seat of traveling, cannot lodge in the hotels of the highways and the hotels of the cities. We can never be satisfied. We can never be satisfied as long as the Negroes in Mississippi cannot vote, and the Negroes in New York believes they have nothing for which to vote for. No, my friends, we are not satisfied, and we will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream. So I go back to the South, not in despair. I go back to the South, not thinking there wasn't a deep, dark dungeon in which is no way out. And so this afternoon I have a dream. It's a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slaves owners will be able to sit down at the tables of brotherhood. I have a dream this afternoon. I have a dream that one day my four little children will not come up in the same young days as I came up in, and they will be judged by the contents of their characters and not the colors of their skin. I have a dream this afternoon. I have a dream that one day Negroes will be able to buy a house or rent a house anywhere that their money will carry them, and they will be able to get a job. Yes, I have a dream this afternoon. I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi will one day be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream this afternoon. I have a dream that one day every valley will be exhausted. Every hill and mountain will be made low. The rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is the hope. This is the faith which I return to the South with. With this faith, we'll be able to work together, to pray together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that one day we will be free. This will be the day. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meanings, my country, tears of thee. Sweet land, sweet liberty of thee I sing. The land of where thy fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside let freedom ring. And if America to be a great nation, this must become true. So let freedom ring from the Fabricius hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the Aileen hilltops of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from every lower and mold hill of Alabama. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountains of Tennessee. Let freedom ring. And when we allow freedom to ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, every state and every city, this will be the day when all of God's children, black man and white man, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing with the Negroes in that old spiritual of all, free at last, thank God Almighty, we're free at last.